People say that it's easier to get out of bed in the morning when you love what you do. I'm a businessman, and I love what I do. Sometimes closing a deal requires parting ways with an associate. When you've killed over 100 people, you learn to savor the nuances of death. The look in their eyes right before they go, when they realize that the last thing they're ever gonna see is my face, it's priceless. This guy, his name is Mazgay.
Come here, I got a deal for you.
He's about to take his last breath. Like I said, I love what I do.
Law enforcement was notified that an individual by the name of Louis Mazgay had disappeared.
Louis Mazgay owned a variety store in Pennsylvania. He was legitimate, but he went out of his way to get things cheap, you know, as any good retailer would do. His wife says he was leaving to meet a connection in New Jersey to buy blank videotapes. She called him all day long, no answer. Expected to hear from him, never did.
Mr. Mazgay had prepared for the meeting by bringing with him $45,000.
It was very strange. Here's the guy that was supposed to go to a meeting and he just disappeared. So foul play was suspected immediately.
They're never gonna find Mazgay. 'Cause for the time being, he's cooling with me. I gotta give it to myself. Sticking him in the icebox was a stroke of genius. Every situation calls for different methods. Killed this one guy with a crossbow, took care of another with a shotgun from 2 feet away. Blew his head right off. The next one needs to be clean and quiet. And I got just the thing.
Well, law enforcement tried to get as much information as it could about Mr. Mazgay.
It was not uncommon for bodies to show up. People who were associated with the mob, people who had wronged the mob, who had gotten involved. But Louis Mazgay had no connections with organized crime, had no connections with any kind of criminal groups. No one would have wanted him dead. And the bizarre circumstances of his disappearance just didn't fit with the kind of person he was.
Essentially, it fell into the category of being a cold case. Sometimes people do run away. So you have to give the investigation a clear continuum of possibilities and potential consequences of him just disappearing. By examining all that, it was established that there was no motive whatsoever for him to leave on his own volition. He had made arrangements with family members to obviously stay local and be available. And obviously, detectives went to work to find out who he was going to meet. That effort produced one particular subject, the person he was expected to meet on July 1st, 1981.
Good afternoon, detectives. Come on in. So, gentlemen,
What can I do for you two detectives?
We have a few questions.
The man with the videotapes said he didn't know anything about it.
You know?
Yeah, I know he's dead.
How do you know that?
Heard it on the street.
On the street. You found out by word on the street? From who?
Word on the street. People talk.
Would you say you were good friends or so-so?
Business associates.
Strictly business.
Strictly business.
Never had lunch, never had drinks.
I've got to go over for lunch with him. He's always working. And in my business, you could see it's crazy.
He said he had never met Mazgay that day, that he didn't show up, and didn't think anything of it.
It was a good lead, but to arrest somebody and prosecute them, you need to have significant evidence to convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt.
Did you get hold of that Stanzo guy? Stanzione, whatever the hell his name was.
Stanzione, and he's our guy. Yeah, he's always on time with the stuff.
That good?
That good.
You sure?
Absolutely.
Gary here, we've done some business together, stealing cars and moving them overseas.
Joey's Burgers. The best, huh?
It better be before we're paying for them.
I was going back.
Go ahead. But he keeps screwing up. The cops have got his number, and he's the kind of guy that could flip. He knows too much about me and what I love to do. It's time to put him to bed. What'd you do, fall in over there?
Hey, man's got to take his time with things, you know?
Yeah. So, I gotta get that delivery in?
Don't worry about it. 2 weeks, they'll be there. You can count on.
Better be there. I need it by the 4th. Sweet dreams, Gary.
The desk clerk at the York Motel in North Bergen, New Jersey, reported that they had received a series of complaints of a severe smell from persons who had rented room 31.
Oh, that's awful.
They examined the room. They were trying to find the source of the smell. The bed was an enclosed bed, large wooden pieces in a square with slats across it, a cheap mattress on top. The mattress was removed, and underneath there was a decaying body.
This body not only stinks to high heaven, it's bloated. Looks like he's been clawing at his own throat. They know right away that this is not a run-of-the-mill murder.
Gary Smith was a low-level criminal involved in stolen cars, stolen property, break and entering.
His wife said he was in with a bad crowd, but he was trying to get out. Just as he's on the verge of changing his life and going legit, he's murdered. This indicates to them that perhaps somebody didn't want him to get out.
The contents of his stomach revealed that he had recently ingested a meal, including some meat product. It was partially undigested.
There was also a reddish hue that was on the body that was seen, which is quite uncommon. The only two times you're going to see that is cyanide poisoning and carbon monoxide poisoning. At that point, cyanide poisoning wasn't utilized in a lot of murders. Whoever killed him, he didn't fit the normal mold of, say, an organized crime guy.
been years. No one's looking for Louis Masgay anymore. You'd think I might feel bad for the guy. I don't. I don't feel anything about anybody. Never have. And that's fine with me. If I went around feeling for people, I wouldn't get to do what I love.
In 1983, a body was found wrapped in 15 layers of plastic. They were able to take fingerprints off it, and they find out that this is the body of Louis Masgay, the man who's been missing for 2 years.
The analysis of the evidence revealed that Mr. Masgay was wearing the same clothes as the day he disappeared. The second major finding was that the body was not nearly as decomposed as a body should be, being out that long, particularly in the wild, so to speak.
They do an autopsy, cut him open, and they find the organs. They feel cold. This guy's organs are fresh. They come to the conclusion that Masgay was probably killed the day he left to buy videotapes, and that his body had been frozen for 2 years and then dumped.
The disposal of the body was very diabolical.
The individual who was responsible for the murder was smart and thought ahead.
He was a different type of criminal. Very, very, very frightening. Each murder had a very diabolical side to them. Law enforcement started putting together the different components of the individual cases, looking for areas to compare and to contrast. The analysis of the evidence revealed that Mr. Masgay was wearing the same clothes as the day he disappeared.
The theory was Louis Masgay went to a location with a lot of money and somebody had killed him.
Detectives went to work to find out who he was going to meet. That effort produced one particular subject.
Oh, man, good to see you.
The investigation also established that Smith was an associate of an individual, a large man who drove a Cadillac. There was a common link between the murders. The common link was Richard Kuklinski.
I've been getting away with this for 30 years. So I guess you could say I'm pretty good at keeping things under wraps. I only let people see what I want them to see. To my wife, kids, and neighbors, I'm an honest businessman. They have no idea the pain that I cause and the pleasure it brings me.
Kuklinski is a family man. He had no criminal record except for kiting a bad check. But as the police continue their investigation, they see that he's not quite the person that he pretends to be. He also has connections to the Gambino crime family, to other unsavory people.
However, what was lacking was hardcore evidence that he was the person involved in the murders. And there was a reason for that, because the persons who he killed were the witnesses against him.
He had a dark side. When he went out at night or when he went out to meet people, no one knew where he was going.
It was the dark side that was the challenge, because we had to be able to develop a plan to track him and get evidence on him during the dark periods. I got a call from Bergen County Prosecutor's Office. I went there and they sat me down.
How are you? Pleasure to meet you. You too. Have a seat, please.
Said, listen, we have this case that we have a fellow by the name of Richard Kuklinski who's been murdering people, but we can't prove it.
I checked out your bio. I talked to your CO. He guarantees me you're the man for the job.
We had the undercover pose as a killer himself. Dominic could engage Kuklinski in conversations killer to killer, which would produce very effective evidence.
We knew that cyanide had been used in at least one of the murders. The focus of our investigation was to have Kuklinski say and admit that he had used cyanide.
My tactic of trying to get a meeting was to sell myself.
You Johnny?
Yeah.
Dominic, how are you?
I started hanging out, buying people coffee,
So, what's going on?
because Kuklinski killed the individual that supplied him with the pure cyanide that he needed. He didn't have that connection no more. I was the type of guy that was flaunting around that I can get any type of connection. Word was getting out there that I was good people, I was hooked up, man. Everybody trusted me no matter what. And then, I'm there one morning, telephone rings.
Provenzano, phone for you.
Excuse me. Yeah.
This is Dominic.
It's Kuklinski. Wants to talk. Kuklinski tells me I want to meet you at the donut shop around the corner, which I said, fine. He says,
40 minutes.
I said, no problem.
I'll see you then, Richard.
It was a long time coming. Unexpected, long time coming. I show up at the donut shop, and he was already there in the parking lot. He gets out of the car, and I'm watching him grow like a big oak tree. I'm saying, man, this guy is huge. I mean, if he looked at you and you're talking, you'd think he's looking right through you, or he's gonna melt you down. You know, something like the Terminator. We go inside, and ironically, there's nobody in there but he and I.
How are we making out?
Can I get you something to drink?
Coffee. Coffee for
And
me.
we started talking, just generalities. And then he says,
I got some housekeeping to do.
he goes, I got some rats I want to take care of. He goes, can you get pure cyanide?
Cyanide?
I could have fell off the chair. I knew that that wasn't tape. Somehow I'm going to have to reiterate that meeting and everything that was said that day on the tape.
Let's get out of here.
Yep.
In my mind, I'm always playing out the next kill. But I can't do everything myself. Partners, associates, suppliers, whatever you want to call them. They're a necessary evil. I let them in on how I conduct my business. But I never tip my hand about how our deal is going to end.
I'm hungry.
Every time the undercover goes and meets with someone of his lethality, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if the undercover's been made. Maybe Kuklinski followed him to his true home on one particular evening. You never know. You just simply never know. During our several undercover meetings, we talked about players that disappeared, how he murdered them, how he used cyanide to kill them.
I got one question for you.
What's that?
Why the cyanide?
You can't even taste it, like this guy I had in the hotel. I put 3 drops. Could have killed an elephant with it.
He wolfed it down like there was no tomorrow.
This is exactly how Gary Smith died.
Thought he died of acid indigestion.
Kuklinski was known as being a very, very cautious man. But, ironically, when he meets Dominic, he tells him everything. Kuklinski's mind, that was okay, because Dominic was already a victim.
There's always a point where people stop being useful. And for Dominic, that time is coming. For me, there's no trust, no honor, no code. People are disposable. Once I get what I need, I throw them in the trash.
He met me at Vince Lombardi's service station. In the morning, I gave him the cyanide.
Hey, John.
How you doing, Richie?
They have him accepting a vial of what Kuklinski thinks is cyanide.
What do you got?
4 days, as promised.
Oh, yeah?
They have his voice on tape talking about a murder that duplicates the Gary Smith murder. So they have a nice package to take him to trial.
We good?
Real good.
The first officer on the scene is investigator Paul Smith.
Get up! Go at it! On the ground! On the ground!
I was able to pull him, and he was a big guy. I couldn't pick him up. I just yanked him out, so he was laying out of the car.
You guys are making a big mistake.
You made a mistake, my friend. Richard Kuklinski, after his convictions, became much more open about his criminal career. Much of what he said was accurate. He was a major murderer. Mr. Kuklinski was one of the most lethal and dangerous criminals that we ever faced. A person like Kuklinski would murder you without any hesitation. Kuklinski killed with knives, handguns, bludgeons, poison. There's not much left.
You don't feel bad about any of them, do you? Doesn't bother you at all?
Why should it bother me?
The nickname Iceman came from the fact that he had frozen at least one body. And he talked about that. That was a method that he used specifically to throw off forensic analysis of his victims.
Richard Kuklinski felt no remorse for any of the murders he committed. None.
It's the most frightening type of criminal mind that you could encounter, because there is absolutely no limits to his ruthlessness, there's no limits to the methodical planning, and there's absolutely no conscience. In my eyes, Richard Kuklinski was the devil. Doesn't care who he hurts, who he kills. There wasn't 1 ounce of good in that body of his. Not 1 ounce. And everybody that he killed, he enjoyed.
They say that I'm some sort of mastermind, some kind of super criminal. Sounds a little exotic for my taste. I'm just a guy who likes to kill. I guess you could say I was skilled. When you do anything long enough, you're bound to get good at it. But looking back, I never worked a day in my life. After all, it's not work when you love what you do.